I have the... Never mind. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I love, enjoy and consume. A bit of a different one today because we're talking about Masters of the Universe Revelation, which is the... Revelation? Yeah, it's Revelation, isn't it? Which is the brand new sequel series to the 1980s He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series. Now, I'm going to be going into this. I'm just going to give my overall thoughts of all 5 episodes that were released today as I'm recording this, although probably not today as this is released because I'm not sure I'm going to have time to edit this for a few days, but I will get it out as soon as I can.
2 weeks later.
They dropped the first 5 episodes of this series, and wow, I'm just going to say straight off before we get into any spoilers, this impressed me. I am a massive fan of, when I was a kid, of Masters of the Universe. I was born in the mid-80s. It had already started by the time I was born, but I got into it sort of in the late 80s, early 90s. It was still being repeated on TV, even though the original series had ended, and I got loads of Masters of the Universe toys as hand-me-downs from my cousin. I had Castle Grayskull, I had He-Man, I had Skeletor, I had Teela, I had... who else did I have? I had... not Battle Cat, I didn't have Battle Cat, but I did have another one of the creatures that gets ridden. I think I might have had the mechanical horse that is seen in the first episode of this series as well. I had loads of He-Man toys. I watched the repeats of the original Masters of the Universe TV series. I loved it. It was a great cartoon. I mean, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and I have a feeling looking back, it would seem incredibly cheesy. But at the time, I loved it. So I went into this with very nostalgic goggles on. I have a feeling that, I mean, I'm the type of person this show is aimed at. Someone that watched the show as the original show from the 80s as a kid and has very nostalgic memories of it. You're looking, people that this show is aimed at is 30-year-olds and above, basically. I'm not sure how much enjoyment you would have got from it had you have no connection to Masters of the Universe before this. Possibly, if you'd watched the reboot series that came around in around about 2001, I think it was. There was a reboot one in a more modern style, which sort of retold the story of the same as the original with Adam getting his powers and all of that sort of stuff. So it was a complete reboot. Possibly, if you watch that, you might get something from this as well. Or if you're, say, a fan of the late 80s live action movie, maybe you'd get something from this. But I think the most people that are going to get something from this are the people that were fans of the original series. And yeah, it went off in a completely different direction than I anticipated, and I think that that's what they intended, because a lot of the marketing, although there were hints that things were going to change, we saw, some scenes in the trailers with characters changing their look a bit, so we knew that there might be some kind of time jump or there was going to be something going on where the situation had changed, but I don't think I quite anticipated how dramatically. But none of that bothered me. I had a fantastic time. The show managed to surprise me, especially at the end. There's a cliffhanger at the end, which we will talk about, that I just loved. I mean, I didn't love it. I'm very heartbroken, but it was, storytelling-wise, fantastic. So let's get on to spoilers. If you haven't seen the show, I thoroughly recommend going and seeing it and watching it now. It's on Netflix. There's only 5 episodes so far, so you've not got too much to catch up on. It's not too much of a commitment. The first thing I'm going to say about it is the title. It's just called Masters of the Universe. The original series was called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And that is very telling, that title, because this is not He-Man's story. And I think this is what they did quite well in the marketing, because they did not let on necessarily that it wasn't a He-Man series. Yet all of the marketing kind of focused on mostly that first episode that we get, which plays out as very much a traditional, albeit slightly more mature animation, mature theming, but effectively plays out almost like an original episode of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series. You've even got characters acting very much in their stereotypical ways like they do in that series. Cringer being all like very scared and everything. And then you've got Orko being useless at magic and all that sort of stuff. And everyone is very much like their original characterization for most of this series, most of this episode, until the very end when it all goes wrong and the bad guys kind of win, or not so much the bad guys win, but everybody loses. Because Skeletor gets his way, breaks this orb of power, and in order to contain it, He-Man uses his sword of power to absorb the blast, which kills him and destroys magic on Eternia. And that is where you know everything is changing. He-Man is gone. And throughout the next 4 episodes, while that first episode was very much, you know, stereotypical and stuff, it kind of played out a bit like an episode of the original series up until the end. The rest of the series is not at all. And it's very much Teela's story. This is a Teela series. She is the main character of this series, and it's her dealing with the repercussions of this and going on a quest to try and restore magic to Eternia. It was, you know, the acting was superb. We had Sarah Michelle Gellar playing Teela, who did a fantastic job. And gradually, you get reintroduced to all of these characters from the original series again. And you get to see them in new lights, which I really liked. You had even the bad guys. You had initially the bad guys and the good guys joining forces. Evil Lynn come working for the sorceress. Initially, the sorceress asked her for help to restore magic to Eternia. I thought that was good. And for the first time, because obviously in the original series, which this is meant to be a sequel to, you know, it's an 80s cartoon. There wasn't much going into the depth of the characters. But here you really do. Teela feels betrayed by everyone, which is why at the end of the first episode, after He-Man's died and she finds out that Adam was He-Man, she loses it basically and doesn't want anything to do with the royal family and quits her job and goes off to be a mercenary instead. Hence the new look with the new hairdo, which I like. Nice new look. And her dad gets fired as well, as, you know, he's the man-at-arms as well. And one thing I liked about the first episode is in the original series there were only a few people that knew Adam's secret, that he was He-Man. In this, you see that his mother knew, but she just didn't tell him she knew. She mutters something about, be careful, Adam, when he's about to go off and be He-Man in that episode. And she's the one that has to tell her husband when Man-at-Arms reports that He-Man has died, that actually it's their son that's died. And that was a really touching moment. That whole first episode, I actually got goosebumps in several moments. The action was brilliant. I mean, the animation in this is fantastic. The score is very epic and cinematic. And the fight scenes look brilliant as well. And overall, it was just such a good series. As Teela forms this sort of band of mixture of previous bad guys and good guys to go on this quest, we see these interesting interactions between them. Orko, who has always been a bit of a fool that can't do magic, you find Evil Lynn actually helping him come to terms with the fact that, you know, it's effectively his self-doubt. And there's an episode where they go into the underworld where, you know, there's a really nice heart-to-heart between the two of them, and you can feel this connection growing. What I like about what they did with Evil Lynn is that they expanded her characters. She was, you know, out and out cackling evil in the original. But here, you see that she's starting to question what she did, but not necessarily for the reasons that make her completely good. She says at one point that she shouldn't have been following Skeletor, she should have been ruling. Well, clearly, there's still some megalomaniac tendencies there. And yeah, overall, I think she did a really good, voiced by Lena Headey, I think her name is, Cersei off of Game of Thrones. Fantastic cast here. Everyone was brilliant in their roles. I'm just disappointed this was only 5 episodes because it was so good. And they're basically going on a quest to reunite the 2 elements of the sword and bring them back together again. Now, interestingly, something I found out from a YouTube channel called Spectre Creative recently is that the original toy design back in the 80s was that the sword had two parts. You got one part with Skeletor and one part with He-Man, and you were meant to join them together. And the original plotline intention was that they would form together to form a key to Castle Grayskull. And I like the fact that those original elements here play into that, because the sword does split into two. And it does form a key to something within Castle Grayskull as well. So I like the fact that they're going back to the original toys there and what the original intention was of the toys, an element that never made it into the original animation series, and they're using that. So that's quite nice too. And by the way, if you like Masters of the Universe, do go and check out the Spectre Creative channel. It's a great channel talking all about the history of the toys and stuff. And this is the guy that runs the channel. He's a guy from the toy industry, and he, for a while he was in charge of the Masters of the Universe brand at Mattel. So definitely a very informative channel. Do go check that out. I'm trying to keep this short, so I'm just going to talk about the final episode as well, because we get reunited with Adam in the afterlife, Prince Adam in the afterlife, and there we get delving into the history of Eternia as well. Some of the characters from Eternia myth. These are characters again that, delving back into the history of the toy line, were either created for the toy line at some point in the toy line's history, but never shown on screen, or were only shown on screen in the 2000 series, reboot series, or were just intended to be shown at some point. So you've got like King Grayskull, the original wielder of the sword. You've got Hero, who is I think the storyline behind him is he was an alien that landed on Eternia, and he has some connection to the sword as well. Anyway, all of these people that have previously held the sword before Adam. And it's just really nice seeing, adding in that historical element there, seeding in the mythology, making it feel like this really big world. And like I say, they really expand on the characters. So you got Orko overcoming in this episode his, self-doubt about his magic and the fact that he's always been useless at magic. Even though the rest of his species is naturally very good at magic. And with the help of Evil Lyn to sort of coach him a bit in terms of his own belief in himself and his magic, their bond actually helps him, and sadly make the sacrifice at the end of that episode to let the others escape using his magic. He holds off the nightmare version, underworld version of Skeletor enough so that they can get out. And unfortunately, very sad moment again, he perishes. That was in the episode before. I'm going a bit all over the place with the stuff I'm talking about here, because I'm just trying to do this very quickly. Then we have a sort of the very culmination of it, where they save Eternia, they restore magic to Eternia. They've managed to bring Adam back from the afterlife as well, so we think, okay, we're getting He-Man back as well, because like I say, this hasn't been a He-Man series up until now, so I was wondering, okay, maybe the second half of it is going to be a He-Man series. But when they bring back magic, it also brings back Skeletor. And the first time we see Skeletor back is so perfectly played, because He-Man is about to call forth his powers. He lifts the sword. He starts to say the magic words, "By the power of Grayskull, I have," and he's skewered through the chest. And we pan back to reveal it's Skeletor, and he's been reformed too. And Evil Lyn and Beastman go over to join his side. Adam is laying dying there on the floor. Skeletor picks up the staff. He says the magic words, and he becomes the master of the universe. And that is the cliffhanger we're ended on. And oh my god, what a cliffhanger. What a shock. I mean, I kind of, like, when Adam died the first time in the first episode, I kind of thought when He-Man died, I was like, okay, I can see where they're going with this now. Teela's going to be the main character. And then they brought him back, and I was like, oh, okay, they're bringing him back, cool. But that first time he died, I wasn't so much shocked. I was kind of expected. That second time he died, though, I was not expecting that, and wow, that was really powerful and really graphic as well. Again, you can tell this is not a show aimed at kids here. This is definitely an adult aimed show. I think there was one swear word I noticed as well in there, one of the episodes. But yeah, blood dripping from the sword, everything, and I'm not sure if he's dead or if he's just dying, but he's not in a good shape. and I think this is going to continue to be Teela's story in the second part. I'm not sure when that's released, but I am there for it when it is, because this is a fantastic continuation of the original. It makes it darker in all the right ways, makes it more adult in all the right ways. It's a fantastic 5 episodes, and not that much of a commitment. So, you know, even if you've never watched, you will get the most out of this if you've watched Masters of the Universe as a kid. But if you didn't, give it a go anyway. It's a great animation. Fantastically animated, fantastically acted. Fantastic story anyway. Just this big, epic, mythological story that I think is you might get some enjoyment out of, even if you haven't watched the original Masters of the Universe. Go check it out, see what you think. I've liked what they've done with it. Let me know if you like it too. When the second part comes out, I'll review that too. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to let me know what you thought of this. And did you watch it as a kid, or did you watch the 2000 series, if that's more your era? Let me know everything in the comments below. I'll be back soon. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And I'll see you then. Goodbye.